Beloved chosen one. Heaven pauses everything around you right now. Listen carefully, because this is not coincidence, this is divine intervention. You are standing at the edge of a sacred countdown, one that heaven itself has approved. The clock of eternity is moving toward January 2nd through and 4. These 3 days are not ordinary days. They are written appointments between your destiny and God's perfect timing. You have felt the shaking in your spirit lately, haven't you? The sleepless nights, the sudden pull to pray, the feeling that something unseen is about to unfold. You are not imagining it. Heaven is awakening you to prepare for divine movement. You were never meant to blend in with the rest. You were born with a mark on your soul, a signature of heaven that sets you apart. The world tried to make you forget, to bury your purpose under layers of pain and distraction. But the time of silence is ending. Heaven is calling your name through every whisper of the wind, every sudden tug in your spirit, every sign that crosses your path. This message finds you now because God Himself has approved this moment. The Spirit of God is announcing a shift, 3 days that will divide your life into before and after. January 2nd will be the unveiling, January 3 the shaking, and January 4 the reversal. But tonight, before any of that begins, heaven is gathering your attention. This is your wake-up call. Every delay you have endured, every unanswered prayer, every door that stayed shut, it was all preparation for this countdown. You have been in hiding, but heaven has been watching. The voice of the Lord is not found in thunder or lightning. It comes as a whisper that pierces through the noise. You have carried pain in silence, but even your tears have been collected as holy evidence of endurance. You are closer than you think. Every trial was training, every loss was positioning, every rejection was redirection. You are about to see what that preparation was for. Beloved, when heaven marks a moment, no human hand can stop it. And heaven has marked this one. You may feel unqualified, you may feel unseen, but grace has already gone before you. The heavens are aligning, angels are standing by. God's word over your life is active, it cannot return void. These coming days are not just about change, they are about manifestation. What was written will now unfold. And I tell you this, when the divine countdown begins, distractions will multiply. Voices will rise to pull you back into old cycles. But you must remain still. You must listen. Do not chase what God is removing. Do not return to what He has already ended. The light that is rising in you will expose everything that cannot walk with you into the next season. Be still, not passive. Be still, knowing that stillness in God is strength in motion. As it is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10. Be still, and know that I am God. These words are not a suggestion. They are a command to your soul. Heaven is saying, stop striving, stop fearing, stop questioning. The countdown will not wait for your readiness, it will move according to divine decree. You are being called to trust that every unseen detail is already under divine control. In the next 3 days, the atmosphere around your life will begin to respond to your obedience. Even now, as you read this, your spirit is awakening to its true identity. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. You are not behind. You are precisely on time. The very moments that felt like endings were simply the quiet setup for a beginning that carries heaven's fingerprint. So date, before you step into this divine sequence of days, make a choice. Choose alignment. Choose surrender. Choose to believe that heaven knows exactly what it's doing. Lift your head, chosen one, speak life, step forward with expectation. For the countdown of destiny has already begun. If this word resonates deep in your spirit, Don't let it pass by in silence. Let heaven see your faith in action. Like, share, and comment below as a prophetic declaration that you received this message. Subscribe and stay connected because the next word will guide you through the days ahead. January 2nd, 3 and 4, the days that heaven itself has approved. Comment 77 below as a sign of agreement, declaring, I am ready for what heaven has prepared. You wake on the morning of January 2nd with a trembling in your spirit. The air feels charged, as though heaven itself has bent low over the earth to whisper secrets long kept hidden. The world looks the same, but something invisible has shifted. You sense that today is not like other days. Heaven has opened a scroll, and your name is written across its pages. What was once concealed in mystery begins to stir within you, pressing for revelation. This is the day of unveiling, the day when what was hidden in darkness begins to move toward the light. You feel the stirring not just in your mind, but in your very bones. The same God who spoke galaxies into being is now breathing understanding into your spirit. The confusion that once clouded your vision starts to lift. The questions that haunted you. Why me? Why this path? Why the waiting begin to find quiet answers in your heart. The Lord has been working in secret chambers. Behind curtains of silence, He has been building strength in the shadows, faith in the fire, and wisdom in the wilderness. He was not ignoring you. He was preparing you for this unveiling. You could not see it before because revelation is dangerous when received too early. If God had revealed His plans before your heart was ready, you might have run from the very thing meant to bless you. But today, the seal breaks, and understanding flows like oil over your life. You will notice it through sudden insight, through patterns that finally make sense, through a peace that passes explanation. The hidden meaning behind your trials, your delays, your heartbreaks will begin to form a divine mosaic, a story of redemption you could never have crafted alone. The pain that once seemed random now stands as proof of preparation. The doors that shut in your face were never rejection. They were divine redirection. Every moment of loss has been stored in heaven's ledger, and every tear has been counted as currency. God wastes nothing. What was buried is about to bloom, and what was kept secret is about to be shouted from the rooftops. But understand this: with revelation comes responsibility. Once you see truth, you cannot unsee it. When God uncovers the real assignment of your life, He also exposes what no longer belongs there. You will see people, situations, and desires in a new light, and not all will withstand that light. This unveiling is not meant to shame you, but to free you. You cannot step into divine fullness while still chained to half-truths. God is not just revealing mysteries about your future. He is revealing the truth about you, who you are, what you carry, and what you were born to do. You are not small, and you are not forgotten. The same Spirit that hovered over the waters in the beginning now hovers over your life, speaking new creation into being. The moment you realize that nothing in your life has been wasted, your entire atmosphere shifts. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You start to recognize that divine fingerprints have been all over your story. It was never chaos, it was choreography. Every loss, every delay, every silence was timed perfectly to bring you to this unveiling. Heaven is saying, look again. Look again at what you called failure. Look again at what you called ending. Within those ashes lies the blueprint for your next miracle. You are standing under an open heaven, and what was hidden for years is now being revealed because you are finally ready to carry it. As the apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 5, He will bring to light what is hidden in darkness and will expose the motives of the heart. These words resound today like thunder across eternity. They remind you that nothing escapes divine notice. The unseen work is as sacred as the visible result. Heaven reveals not to embarrass, but to elevate, not to expose your weakness, but to reveal His strength through you. Today marks the beginning of understanding. You will no longer wander in circles of confusion. You will walk in clarity. You will see the threads that tie every chapter together, and you will know none of it was wasted. This unveiling is heaven's way of saying, now you see what I saw all along. You are now walking within the divine interruption. The day feels different not because the sun has changed, but because heaven has stepped into your ordinary rhythm and touched it with purpose. What was once predictable now carries mystery. You feel it in the air, in your heartbeat, in the spaces between thoughts. God has halted the familiar flow of your life to reveal that this moment was written long before your first breath. You are not being delayed. You are being divinely interrupted. For too long, you thought silence meant abandonment. You mistook God's stillness for absence. But the truth is, He was preparing an unveiling so precise that it required the quiet. The noise of the world had to die down so you could hear the whisper of eternity. This pause, this interruption is not punishment, it is orchestration. Heaven interrupts when you are about to walk into something that does not align with your destiny. It steps in with divine mercy, closing doors that your emotions would have kept open. It halts you mid-step, mid-plan, mid-dream to protect what is holy within you. Sometimes God's greatest kindness is not in saying yes, but in stopping you before you say yes to the wrong thing. Do you see it now? Every closed path was a redirection. Every sudden change was protection disguised as disappointment. The interruptions of God are the hidden signatures of His sovereignty. He pauses your journey not to paralyze you, but to position you. When heaven interrupts, time bends. The delay becomes sacred because it gives space for divine timing to catch up to human will. You might not have understood it before the sudden endings, the people who left, the plans that collapsed without explanation. But now you sense that every one of them was part of the holy pause that God placed on your life. The Spirit was not denying you, He was redirecting you toward your true path. There are seasons where heaven must break your rhythm to teach you a new song. And in this interruption, you will find revelation. You will begin to understand why you could not fit into old circles, why certain opportunities never opened, why your spirit felt restless even in moments that looked successful. Heaven was pulling you out of alignment with imitation so that you could align with authenticity. You were never meant to follow the patterns of this world, you were meant to follow divine rhythm. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. These words are not passive comfort. They are the heartbeat of divine interruption. When God says He knows the plans, it means you do not need to. You only need to trust the pauses, the redirections, and the quiet seasons. For it is in the stillness that God writes His most powerful instructions. So today, stop fighting the interruptions, embrace them. When things stop moving, it does not mean you are off course, it means heaven is about to shift your direction. When the familiar breaks, it is often a sign that something eternal is being built beneath the surface. Divine interruptions are not detours, they are recalibrations. Take this moment to breathe. Let your soul exhale the fear of not knowing. Allow your heart to remember that divine timing cannot be rushed. You are being interrupted because you are important. Heaven does not pause ordinary people for no reason. You are a chosen vessel, and this interruption is proof that your life is under divine review. Heaven is adjusting your coordinates to align with your true destiny. As you feel this word resonate within, don't just nod and move on. Declare your agreement. Write your faith into the atmosphere. Comment, "I trust God." Let those 3 words echo through your spirit. Let them replace anxiety with peace. When you type them, do not do it as routine. Do it as prophecy. I trust God means you surrender the need to understand. It means you release control and allow the interruption to become transformation. Heaven moves when faith is spoken aloud. These simple words are not just a comment, they are a covenant. So stand still, chosen one. Heaven has interrupted your journey not to stop your story, but to rewrite it with glory. You can feel it now, the shift from unveiling to separation. Something inside you knows this season is different. What used to fit no longer feels comfortable. What once gave you peace now leaves you uneasy. This is the day of separation, the holy dividing line drawn not by your choice but by heaven's design. You are being called out of the common into the consecrated. God is gently but firmly removing what no longer serves your destiny. It does not mean you have failed. It means you have outgrown the space that once held you. Separation is the natural result of transformation. When light grows stronger, shadows are exposed. When God elevates your spirit, He exposes the weights that cannot rise with you. You are not losing people, you are losing distractions. You are not being abandoned. You are being refined. There is pain in this process. The heart does not easily release what feels familiar. But understand this, what you cling to can become the very thing that keeps you from stepping into divine purpose. Heaven cannot fill hands that refuse to let go. This separation is not rejection, it is redirection. God is pruning your life so that fruit can grow in the right places. Every chosen one faces this sacred pruning. It is how heaven teaches trust. The divine gardener cuts away what looks alive but bears no fruit. He removes branches that have drained your energy, relationships that have kept you in cycles of compromise, and habits that have disguised themselves as comfort, but were really cages. You are being called higher, and not everyone can breathe at that altitude. There are seasons when God says, "Come out. Come out from what is comfortable. Come out from what is familiar. Come out from the noise that drowns His whisper." You cannot carry every voice, every opinion, every memory into your next season. Separation is God's way of saying, "You belong to me more than to them." The Apostle Paul once wrote about this very truth, reminding the faithful to distinguish between what is holy and what is unholy, between what strengthens and what weakens. The Spirit still speaks the same today. When you feel restless, when you sense the tug to step away from certain people or patterns, it is heaven calling you into clarity. Do not resist it. Resistance prolongs the pain. Surrender brings peace, as it is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 17. "Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord, and touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you." This command is not born of harshness, but of love. Separation precedes sanctification. When God asks you to walk away, He is making room for His glory to rest upon you. The things He removes are often the very things that were silently removing you from peace, from purpose, from purity. He never takes without giving, never ends without beginning. So let the pruning happen. Let the divine scissors cut away what can no longer grow. It might feel like loss, but it is preparation for abundance. When something leaves, thank God for the lesson it carried, and release it without bitterness. The weight you shed in obedience becomes the wind beneath your wings. Every act of surrender makes you lighter, freer, stronger. Soon, you will look back and understand why certain doors had to close, why certain people had to walk away, why certain dreams had to die before the new ones could breathe. What felt like subtraction will reveal itself as multiplication. God never divides without the intention to multiply later. This separation season may feel lonely, but you are not alone. Heaven is closer than it has ever been. Angels walk with you in the quiet, unseen spaces. You are surrounded by divine presence even in solitude. Do not mistake isolation for abandonment. The silence you hear is the sound of heaven working behind the scenes. When you emerge from this process, you will not carry the residue of old seasons. You will walk lighter, speak wiser, love purer. Everything unnecessary will have fallen away, leaving only what is eternal. You will know who you are and whose you are. Let the old fade, let the unnecessary fall. The separation is not your ending, it is the evidence that you are chosen for more. When God calls you out, He is not taking you backward, He is calling you higher. The atmosphere around you begins to vibrate with quiet anticipation. After the unveiling and the separation comes the stirring, a movement so subtle yet so undeniable that it feels like the wind before the rain. Heaven is whispering. Pay attention. You are standing in the early moments of a divine stirring, where the unseen begins to prepare the scene. The ground beneath your spirit trembles not from fear, but from awakening. This is the moment when heaven starts confirming what it has spoken. The signs become louder, dreams sharpen, scriptures leap off the page as though written with your name hidden in the ink. Numbers repeat. Faces appear at the right time. Words you needed to hear echo from unexpected mouths. God is not speaking randomly, He is orchestrating harmony between heaven and earth, and your life is one of the instruments in His hand. Have you ever watched the ocean before a storm? The surface looks calm, yet underneath, the currents are alive, swirling with unseen energy. That is what is happening inside you now. You may look composed, but your spirit knows something is rising. It is divine restlessness, a holy discomfort designed to move you from where you were to where you are meant to be. The Spirit of God is stirring your waters because stagnation is no longer an option. There will be moments when this stirring feels like confusion. Do not fear it. The soil must be disturbed before it can receive new seeds. You cannot plant revelation into settled ground. It must first be turned over, broken open, made ready. So if life feels unsettled, rejoice. It means heaven's hand is upon you, preparing you for growth. The stirring is also heaven's way of reminding you that you are not forgotten. Each nudge, each sign, each whisper is God saying, I still see you. He is guiding you step by step, not through loud declarations, but through gentle alignment. Like a compass that always finds north, your spirit is being drawn toward divine direction, according to what is revealed in the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 7. Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing His plan to His servants, the prophets. That means revelation is a gift of mercy. Before God acts, He reveals. Before He moves, He stirs. And this stirring you feel is heaven's announcement that something is about to be birthed in your life. When the prophets of old felt the stirring, they didn't wait in silence, they spoke. They moved. They gave voice to what heaven was doing. You too are called to respond. The stirring is not meant to make you anxious. It is meant to make you active. This is the time to pray deeper, to listen longer, to open your heart wider. Beloved, think of your life as a flame. Every share, every word spoken in faith, every small act of obedience is like breath feeding that flame. When you help spread the light, You participate in heaven's movement. If a message like this stirs your soul, it is not just for you. Someone else is waiting for this word, wandering in darkness, longing for confirmation. Your simple act of sharing could become the spark that sets another heart ablaze. So if this message speaks to you, let it move through you. Like the rivers that do not keep water for themselves, pour forward what you have received. Share this message with those who need to remember that God still speaks. Like, share and subscribe not out of obligation, but as a symbolic act of unity with the mission of heaven. When you do your saying, let this light travel farther. Let it reach someone who cannot yet see their dawn. And if you feel led, support the flow that carries this word across nations. Just as the prophets were sustained by the hands of the faithful, your giving your donation becomes a seed in fertile ground. Every act of generosity becomes oil in the lamp that keeps the flame of revelation burning. It is never about money, it is about meaning. You are helping the message move, helping light reach where darkness lingers. The stirring has begun, chosen one. The waves are forming beneath the surface. Do not mistake the shaking for instability. It is the sound of preparation. Heaven is aligning your steps, confirming your purpose, and stirring your spirit to rise above what once confined you. Be attentive. Be ready. The whisper of God is in the wind, and He is saying, now. You have crossed into the second day, January 3rd. The morning carries a strange stillness, as though creation itself is holding its breath. This is the day of shaking. Everything that is not rooted in divine truth will tremble. The ground beneath your spirit feels unstable, not because you are losing balance, but because heaven is realigning everything that was built on sand. What cannot stand in truth will crumble, and what was built on faith will endure. Do not be alarmed by the shaking. Every divine transformation comes with trembling. Mountains quake before they reveal gold. Trees must be shaken before they release fruit. What you are feeling is not destruction, it is purification. God is shaking away false attachments, illusions of control, and every fragile structure you tried to build without His instruction. You prayed for clarity. This is what clarity feels like when heaven delivers it. At first, it feels like loss. Opportunities fade, plans dissolve, people drift. But do not mourn what leaves. The shaking does not destroy what belongs to you, it only removes what was never meant to stay. The Spirit of God is sweeping through your atmosphere, separating the authentic from the artificial. It is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also holy. Heaven does not shake your life to hurt you. It shakes you to free you. Every chosen one must go through this refining moment. Abraham felt it when he left his homeland. Moses felt it when the Red Sea stood between him and the promise. Even Jesus felt it in Gethsemane when the weight of destiny pressed upon him. And now, it is your turn not to suffer but to be strengthened. The shaking is not a sign of abandonment but of divine attention. When heaven shakes, it means God's eyes are on you. The book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 26, declares, "Yet once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens." This verse resounds through your soul like thunder wrapped in mercy. It reminds you that even the heavens tremble when God moves. You are part of that movement. What you feel now is creation responding to your awakening. You are the vessel through which heaven is adjusting the balance of your world. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken, but only so that the unshakable can remain. Look closely at your life right now. What is being removed? What is being exposed? Do not resist it. When the longer you cling to what God is shaking away, the longer you delay your freedom. Let it fall. Let it go. Sometimes peace only comes after the breaking. Sometimes purpose only reveals itself after the shaking has done its work. You will notice that even as things shift, your spirit feels strangely steady. That is because your foundation is not crumbling, it is being strengthened. Every tremor you feel is loosening the grip of fear and planting your roots deeper into faith. You are being reminded that your trust must not be in people, positions, or possessions, but in the one who never changes. This shaking is also an invitation to stand. When the wind roars, trees with deep roots don't run, they flex and endure. You are like that tree planted by living waters. The storm may howl, but it cannot uproot what God Himself has planted. This is not your downfall, it is your proving ground. When the shaking ends, you will not just stand, you will shine. Chosen one, this is the moment to anchor your heart. Do not panic when the familiar collapses. It is making room for something eternal. What feels like breaking is actually birthing. The things that fall away today will become the testimony that fuels tomorrow's faith. If this word speaks to the storm within you, take a breath and recognize you are not being destroyed, you are being redefined. The shaking is the sound of heaven removing the temporary so the eternal can rise. When you feel that confirmation stirring deep in your heart, type the prophetic number 888 in the comments below. It represents new beginnings, resurrection, and divine alignment. Let it be your silent amen, your agreement with heaven's movement. Every time you write that number, you declare, I am not afraid of the shaking. I am ready for what remains. The trembling is not the end, it is the beginning of unshakable faith. The shaking passes and silence follows, but this silence is not emptiness, it is fire. You have entered the refining stage, the sacred furnace where the chosen are purified. It is not punishment, it is process. You have asked God to use you, and this is His answer. Before gold can glisten, it must face the flame. Before light can guide others, it must first learn to endure the heat that forges its brilliance. You may not understand the weight of this season yet. It feels as though every weakness is being exposed, every comfort stripped away. But listen, heaven is not trying to destroy you. The fire does not come to consume the vessel. It comes to consume the impurities within it. Every flame that surrounds you is mercy disguised as discomfort. God is allowing pressure not to break you, but to purify your motives, to separate purpose from pride and faith from fear. In the refining fire, you learn what truly matters. You begin to see how much of your strength came from self and how much was born from spirit. When everything familiar burns away, you finally see what cannot burn: your calling, your anointing, your eternal worth. You discover that what is divine in you cannot be destroyed by earthly fire. The refining is slow. Sometimes it feels endless. There will be days when you wonder, how long must I stay in this heat? But understand, the divine refiner never takes his eyes off the gold. When the goldsmith works, he knows the piece is ready not by time but by reflection. When he can see his image perfectly in the metal, he removes it from the flame. So it is with you. When God looks into your heart and sees His own reflection, patience, humility, faith, He will lift you from this season and set you apart for purpose, as it was spoken through the prophet Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver. Those ancient words still breathe truth today. God is not standing far off while you endure this fire. He is sitting close, watching carefully, shaping you with precision. The fire is not unattended, it is supervised love. Every degree of heat has a purpose. Every spark a message. You are being transformed. When you are in this refining process, it may feel as though you are losing yourself. But what you are really losing are the layers that never belong to you. Fear melts away. Pride dissolves. Doubt loses its grip. You begin to glow from within, because purity always carries light. The fire that once frightened you becomes familiar, a companion that reminds you of God's nearness. Do not rush this process. Gold that leaves the furnace too soon remains fragile. Let God complete His work. Let the heat sanctify you, the silence teach you, and the stillness restore you. The refining is where warriors are shaped and servants become leaders. It is where words like endurance, integrity, and obedience are not just spoken but carved into your spirit. You will know when the fire has done its work. Peace will replace panic. Clarity will take the place of confusion. The same flames that once burned will begin to warm. You will no longer see the fire as an enemy, but as evidence that God has chosen you for something greater. Beloved, when you emerge from this process, you will carry a glow that cannot be explained. Those who once doubted you will see the transformation and know it was not luck. It was the hand of God. The fire has refined your faith, not ruined it. You will step out of this furnace shining, weightless, steady, and filled with divine authority. And though you may not yet see the full purpose of the flames, you will soon realize they were the most merciful part of your journey. The fire is proof of your authenticity. Only the precious are refined. Only the chosen are trusted with heat this holy. After the refining, you begin to notice the world around you differently. The same streets, the same sky, the same routine, yet everything feels charged with a new depth. It is as though your eyes have been washed clean by tears you didn't understand before. You no longer look through pain, you look through purpose. But just as peace begins to settle, the storm rises again, not against you, but for you. This is the season when the voice speaks in the storm. The sky darkens, winds swirl, and everything that felt steady begins to shake once more. But this time, something in you has changed. You are no longer terrified by the storm's sound. You are listening for the message hidden within its roar. Heaven does not always whisper softly. Sometimes it thunders to awaken the boldness inside of you. Storms do not arrive to destroy, they arrive to announce. They are divine messengers, tearing away the illusion of control so that faith can take the throne again. When God speaks through thunder, He is not warning of disaster. He is calling you to attention. The storm becomes a classroom, and every gust of wind carries revelation. You will notice in this season that chaos often precedes clarity. Before the sea was calmed, it had to rise. Before peace came, the waters had to roar. You are learning the language of divine disruption, the sound that tells you heaven is about to act. What once frightened you now fascinates you. The storm is no longer the enemy. It is a messenger in disguise. When lightning splits the sky, remember it does not appear without purpose. Every flash reveals what was hidden in darkness for a moment. That is how God speaks in the storm. He does not destroy the night. He gives you glimpses of direction in bursts of brilliance. You may not see the full path, but He shows you enough to keep walking by faith. As written in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verse 39. Then He arose and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. That is the nature of His authority. The same voice that commands galaxies also speaks to your soul. The same power that silenced the waves still whispers into your fear. When the storm rages, do not forget who rides upon it. The one who controls the tempest is not outside the boat, He is within it, beside you, speaking calm into the chaos. Sometimes God allows storms not because you have done wrong, but because you are ready to see his strength up close. You cannot witness his dominion over the seas if the waters never rise. You cannot learn his voice of peace unless you've heard the wind scream. The storm is not proof that God is distant. It is proof that he trusts you with revelation that calmer souls never hear. Pay attention to what the storm reveals. It exposes what you truly trust, what you still fear, and what must be surrendered. It uncovers idols of control, illusions of security, and the places where doubt still hides. Do not run from this confrontation, let it free you. When everything external trembles, the only safe place is inside his word, and there, even in thunder, you find stillness. The storm also refines your hearing, when you can discern his voice amid chaos. No noise on earth can ever silence it again. This is where intimacy deepens, not in comfort, but in collision. The waves crash, but you learn that they cannot drown the one who walks with Christ. The storm tries to break your confidence, but ends up building it. You begin to see that the power within you is greater than the pressure around you. And when at last the winds subside and the rain slows to a whisper, you will notice a holy calm settling upon you. It is not the calm of relief, it is the calm of revelation. You will understand that peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of God within them. So do not despise the storm. Listen to it. Let it teach you the sound of his authority, the rhythm of his mercy. For even when thunder roars and lightning strikes, his voice still says, "Peace, be still." Night falls heavier than usual. The air thickens with silence that feels alive, like unseen eyes are watching. Like heaven itself has stepped back just far enough to see what you will do next. You've made it through the unveiling, the shaking, and the refining. Yet now you stand in the deepest part of the journey, the midnight battle. It's the hour when distractions sleep and truth begins to speak. Every chosen one faces this hour, for destiny is always tested in the dark. You feel it, the pull between exhaustion and endurance, between giving up and going on. The voice of doubt whispers that maybe you've imagined it all, that the promises were illusions. But another voice, quiet yet unyielding, says, "Hold on. You're closer than you think." The midnight hour is never about destruction, it's about determination. Heaven watches to see if you'll trust what you heard in the light when you can no longer see it in the dark. Do not fear the night. Darkness is not your enemy, it is the canvas upon which divine light paints revelation. God often hides his greatest lessons in the silence between your prayers and his response. The absence of noise does not mean the absence of movement. When heaven seems quiet, it is because the orchestration is happening beneath the surface. The midnight hour is when God rearranges destinies while the world sleeps. This battle isn't always external. It happens in your thoughts, in the unseen corridors of your mind. Memories rise like ghosts, trying to convince you that you are still who you used to be. Guilt claws, fear whispers, and loneliness tries to build a nest in your spirit. But you are not who you were. You have survived too much to return to shadows. Every scar on your soul is proof that you have been tempered for this very moment. Scripture tells us that even in the darkest hour, heaven listens. The apostles once faced such a night not with fear, but with faith, as recorded in the book of Acts chapter 16, verse 25. At midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the prisoners were listening to them. Those words echo across time into your present battle. At midnight, while chains rattled and walls loomed, praise broke through the silence. Heaven did not respond to their pain, it responded to their worship. That is the key hidden in your midnight praise, is your weapon. When you cannot fight with sight, Fight with sound. When you cannot see the way, sing through the darkness until light answers back. You must remember that darkness cannot comprehend light. It trembles at the sound of faith. Every thank you spoken through tears is an earthquake in the spirit realm. Every whisper of I trust you shakes prison doors. You are not just enduring this night, you are rewriting it. Your worship in this hour becomes a signal flare to heaven, and angels move at the sound of it. So when fear presses close, lift your head and speak life. You do not have to feel strong, you only need to remain faithful. The midnight battle ends not when the sun rises, but when your heart learns to praise in the dark. That's when chains begin to loosen, both visible and invisible. The enemy cannot hold a soul that sings through sorrow. This night may seem long, but dawn is already on its way. Every second you endure is one heartbeat closer to breakthrough. When your mind says it's over, your spirit must whisper, "Not yet." You have come too far to collapse now. The same God who stood with Paul and Silas stands beside you. Your midnight is not a tomb. It is a womb. Something is being birthed in the dark that the daylight will soon reveal. When this word resonates deep within you, do not let it pass silently. Respond to heaven the way Paul and Silas did, not with fear, but with faith. Speak your alignment into existence. Comment, "I will rise." Let those 3 words be your declaration in this midnight hour. They are more than a sentence, they are a prophecy. When you write them, you are telling every shadow that light is on its way. You are reminding your soul that night cannot last forever. "I will rise" is not wishful thinking, it is the sound of resurrection stirring beneath your ribs. Hold steady, chosen one. The night is almost over and your praise is already pulling the sunrise closer. The morning of January 4th feels different. The air seems lighter, as if the world itself has exhaled. You sense it in your spirit, the great reversal has begun. It's not loud or dramatic, it's quiet, steady, holy. This is the morning heaven has been preparing you for. Everything that once felt backward is turning forward. The scales of time are balancing. The pain that once drained you now becomes the oil that anoints you. You stand in a sacred exchange. For every tear there is recompense. For every loss there is restoration. The things that once worked against you now work for you. God's hand moves unseen, yet the evidence begins to surface all around you. People who ignored you begin to remember you. Opportunities once buried begin to bloom. The last 3 days were not random, they were divine architecture, building the bridge between what was and what will be. The great reversal is heaven's way of saying, "I never forgot." Every delay, every disappointment, every silent season, it all carried hidden purpose. You had to be stripped before you could be strengthened. You had to walk through emptiness before you could recognize overflow. This is not about karma or coincidence. It is about divine order coming full circle. As it is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20, verse 16, "So the last will be first, and the first will be last." These words are not just theology, they are testimony. They reveal the rhythm of God's justice, the sacred reversal that humbles the proud and exalts the faithful. Heaven's timing does not follow the clock of man. While others rushed ahead, you waited. While they built in haste, you were being built in secret. And now, suddenly, the curtain lifts, and the one who was hidden is revealed. Look around your life and notice the subtle signs. What once felt impossible is beginning to move. The weight that pressed upon your chest now feels lighter. The obstacles that once stood like mountains begin to bow. God is not just changing your circumstances, He is changing your position. You are being moved from overlooked to chosen, from waiting to walking, from surviving to reigning. This reversal is heaven's signature move. It comes like dawn after the longest night. At first, there is only a hint of light on the horizon, but soon, the whole sky catches fire. That's how divine change works quietly at first. Then suddenly, all at once, think of your life as a garden. For a long time, it looked barren, yet beneath the soil, roots were forming deep, unseen, patient. Now, the rain of favor begins to fall and the sprouts push through. Don't rush the process. Just let it bloom. Your only task now is gratitude, to water your faith with thankfulness. If this word resonates in your soul, then let your gratitude ripple outward, the same way a candle passes its flame to another. Your simple act of sharing this message may ignite faith in someone standing in their own midnight. When you like, you are saying, "I see the light." When you share, you are carrying that light into someone else's darkness. When you subscribe, you are joining a circle of fire souls across the world, walking together through revelation, refining, and renewal. And if your heart feels moved, if this word has touched a place deep within you, consider pouring back into the very vessel that poured into you. A donation, no matter how small, becomes a seed of light. Like rain on fertile ground, it sustains the message, fuels its reach, and ensures that others, perhaps someone lost in silence, will hear the same whisper of hope you're hearing now. Think of it not as giving away, but as planting forward. You are sowing into transformation, watering the flow that carries God's word farther than your hands could reach. Heaven measures such acts not by amount, but by intention. The widow's coin still echoes through eternity because it was given from the heart. So as you stand on this dawn of reversal, remember you are both the miracle and the messenger. Let your gratitude breathe through action. Let your faith flow through generosity. When you lift another, heaven lifts you higher. This is the hour of divine exchange. The heavens are open, the cycle is turning, and the light of favor is spreading across your horizon. Step forward gently, chosen one. What was once broken is being made whole, and what was once lost is finding its way back multiplied. Your great reversal has already begun. The air around you hums with quiet mystery. Something beyond explanation is unfolding. You can feel it. This is not coincidence. This is divine compensation. Heaven is paying back every loss, every sleepless night, every moment of silence that made you wonder if God had forgotten your name. But He never forgets. The same God who counted your tears now counts your recompense, ensuring that nothing you endured was wasted. There is a rhythm to restoration that only heaven understands. It does not rush. It does not shout. It unfolds like sunrise. Slowly, steadily, light returns to places long covered in shadow. The wounds that once defined you begin to fade into scars of wisdom. The pain that once silenced your voice now becomes the melody of your purpose. You are living proof that nothing surrendered to God ever truly dies. It simply waits for resurrection. You may not notice it all at once, but compensation has begun. Unexpected opportunities appear where there were only closed doors. People who once ignored you now speak your name with respect. Ideas long buried suddenly bloom with fresh power. Every area that was stripped bare begins to bear fruit again. The field that once looked abandoned is now being cultivated by divine hands. This season is not about replacing what was lost. It's about multiplying what remains. God does not restore to your old level. He always increases. Goodbye. You are not receiving what was stolen. You are receiving more than what was taken. The scales of justice in heaven never balance, they overflow. Divine repayment does not just settle the score, it reveals the abundance of God's mercy. As written in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the great locust, the young locust, and the other locusts, my great army that I sent among you. This promise is not poetic nostalgia, it is divine law. What the locusts devoured, God replaces in full measure. The years that seemed lost to confusion, delay, or betrayal are not gone. They are being repurposed. Heaven never loses track of time. The clock of restoration is precise, and it begins to tick again the moment you surrender your past into divine hands. Compensation is not only about external blessings, it's also about internal healing. Some of the most powerful restorations happen within. God begins to give you back peace you thought you'd never feel again. He restores your laughter, your creativity, your hope. You wake up lighter, not because life is suddenly perfect, but because the burden has been lifted. Divine compensation touches not just your circumstances, but your soul. It is here that gratitude deepens into understanding. You start to see that every heartbreak taught compassion, every delay built patience, every loss carved humility into your spirit. These are treasures the world cannot see, but heaven counts as gold. This is why divine compensation feels so sacred. It repays you not only in blessings, but in wisdom. Sometimes restoration looks like new beginnings. Sometimes it looks like peace where there used to be chaos. And sometimes it looks like you standing stronger than ever, carrying light in the very hands that once trembled. The way you speak, the way you move, the way you love it all carries a quiet authority born of survival. You are not who you were before the fire, and that is the greatest compensation of all. Do not question why God allowed the locusts in the first place. They were necessary. They consumed what could not go with you into your next season. Without their destruction, you would still be clinging to things that couldn't sustain your purpose. The locusts cleared the field so heaven could replant with purer seed. Their presence was painful, but their purpose was purification. Now, as you walk through this restored land, take time to notice the beauty in small things, the laughter of loved ones, the stillness of mourning, the grace in each breath. These are signs of abundance returning. The evidence of divine compensation isn't always grand. It's often quiet, steady, sacred. Heaven restores in layers. One day it's peace, another day it's provision, another it's opportunity. Until one morning you look around and realize you lack nothing. You are whole, you are healed, you are free. And when that moment comes, you will understand why the waiting was long, why the loss was deep, and why the promise is now overflowing. Because divine compensation doesn't just give you back what you had, it gives you back what you became. You can feel it, a quiet weight of holiness surrounding you. The 3 days of unveiling, shaking, and reversal have done their work. Now comes the moment heaven has been waiting for, the sealing. You are no longer wandering between what was and what will be. You stand marked by divine authority, carrying the invisible signature of heaven upon your soul. This is the seal of approval. It cannot be bought, replicated, or revoked. It is heaven's declaration that you belong, that your identity is now protected under divine covenant. You may not see the seal, but you will feel its effects. Doors will open that no human could force. Attacks that once drained you will begin to fall powerless. You will find yourself walking with new confidence, not born of ego but of awareness. You will know deep in your bones that you are covered. What once frightened you will now flee from you. The spiritual realm recognizes marked ones. The light upon you cannot be imitated. This seal comes after surrender. It is not given to the proud or the half-committed, but to those who have bowed in obedience and risen in purpose. When heaven marks a soul, It signifies completion of one chapter and the beginning of another. You have passed through the fire and proven your faith. The shaking did not break you, it branded you. The trials were not tests of endurance, they were tests of identity. Now you walk with evidence that you are chosen and approved, as written in the letter to the Ephesians chapter 1, verse 13. Having believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit. This scripture is more than comfort, it is confirmation. The Spirit within you is heaven's stamp of authenticity. You are no counterfeit. You are the real vessel, formed through trial, carried through refinement, and now sealed by grace. The seal does not make you superior, it makes you secure. You are not just protected from harm, you are preserved for purpose. The moment this seal rests upon you, subtle shifts begin to occur. People may sense something different. Some will draw near to your light. Others will withdraw because they cannot handle its purity. Do not take either personally. Both reactions reveal who belongs in this new dimension of your life. The seal will attract alignment and repel confusion. It acts as both protection and filtration, keeping only what was sent by heaven and releasing what was not. You may notice that you no longer feel the need to prove yourself. Approval from people fades in importance because you now walk with heaven's endorsement. Your worth is not tied to applause, it is anchored in assignment. You no longer chase validation. You carry it. The same Spirit that sealed prophets, kings, and apostles now breathes within you, affirming that you are equipped for everything ahead. This seal also grants discernment. You begin to recognize counterfeit opportunities, the ones that glitter but carry no glory. You sense when something is of God and when it merely imitates His tone. The seal sharpens your spiritual senses. It allows you to move through the world with quiet confidence, no longer tossed by doubt or deception. The marked cannot be misled for long. Chosen one, this is not the end of your transformation, it is the solidifying of it. You have been reshaped, refined, and now sealed. Heaven's fingerprint rests on your heart like an invisible crown. You walk differently because your atmosphere has changed. You speak differently because your authority has deepened. The world around you begins to notice that you no longer react, you respond. You no longer fear, you discern. You no longer seek approval, you carry it. If this message resonates in your spirit, take a moment to acknowledge what heaven has done. Let your heart answer the seal with recognition, not in silence, but in agreement. Type the prophetic number 44444 in the comments below. It symbolizes divine protection, angelic covering, and heavenly order. When you write it, you declare, I am sealed, I am covered, I am aligned. The number becomes a statement of faith, a visible echo of an invisible truth. You are no longer striving to be chosen, you are chosen, confirmed, and marked. Walk forward with peace. The seal upon you is permanent, and heaven has already approved what comes next. You wake the next morning with a strange calm humming through your chest. It is not the fragile calm that comes from silence after a storm, but the deep stillness that follows understanding. Something within you has changed completely, irrevocably. This is the awakening of power. It does not arrive with lightning or spectacle. It arrives with awareness. You begin to recognize the authority you carry, the spiritual gravity of your voice, the quiet fire that now burns within your words. Power in its divine form is never loud. It does not shout to be heard or demand to be seen. It moves through gentleness, through obedience, through truth. This is the kind of strength heaven entrusts only to those who have been broken and rebuilt, those who have learned humility through pain and compassion through loss. True authority is born not from titles or platforms, but from surrender. You have walked through unveiling, shaking, refining, and sealing all to reach this moment. The purpose was never to give you influence over others, but to awaken influence within you. The Spirit of God now dwells not as a distant voice, but as a pulse in your being. Every step you take echoes with divine weight. You no longer pray as a beggar, you speak as an heir. You no longer hope timidly, you declare boldly. Because heaven has entrusted you with the language of creation, as written in the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 8. You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses to the ends of the earth. This verse is not merely a promise, it is a prophecy fulfilled within you. The same Spirit that empowered the early apostles now burns in your core. You may not see tongues of fire resting above your head, but the fire is there, invisible yet unmistakable. It gives you words when you thought you had none, courage when fear whispers, and wisdom that transcends your understanding. Power changes how you move through the world. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable, nor do you boast to prove your worth. You simply are. You carry peace into chaos. You speak calm into conflict. You radiate grace into hardened places. The very atmosphere shifts when you enter, not because you force it, but because heaven flows through you effortlessly. You have become a vessel of divine current. This awakening also brings responsibility. Power misused becomes destruction, but power surrendered becomes healing. You will find moments when you are tempted to use your voice in anger or your influence for recognition. Resist that urge. Remember how long it took to be refined for this moment. True strength is not proven by dominance, it is proven by restraint. The Spirit within you will teach you when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move and when to wait. You may begin to notice how creation responds to you now. Prayers that once felt heavy suddenly move with ease. Words spoken in faith ripple outward faster than before. You are aligned with the divine current. Heaven's frequency flows through your obedience. What used to take months now happens in moments, not because you've become more powerful, but because you've become more surrendered. The awakening of power also means that miracles will no longer surprise you. They will feel natural, like breathing. You'll speak life over the weary and watch hope return to their eyes. You'll touch broken dreams and see them rise again. You'll stand before situations that once terrified you and feel no fear, because you finally understand you are not standing alone. The same power that raised Christ from the dead now lives within you, whispering, "Greater things shall you do." This power is not about spotlight. It is about stewardship. You are entrusted to carry heaven's presence into places that have forgotten its sound. Every act of kindness, every prayer whispered in secret, every decision made with love becomes a conduit for divine energy. You have become a walking sanctuary, a breathing testimony of what happens when a heart yields fully to God's hand. So walk gently, chosen one. You do not need to announce your power, the world will feel it. You do not need to explain your transformation, your life will reveal it. The Spirit within you is alive, speaking, moving, creating. You are no longer waiting for a miracle. You have become one. There is a magnetic pull in the air now, something gathering, something assembling beyond your sight. The awakening of power within you has sent ripples into the spirit realm, and heaven is responding. One by one, lights begin to move across the landscape of souls, some near, some far, all glowing with the same divine frequency. You may not know their names yet, but they are drawn to you as you are drawn to them. This is the gathering of light. It does not happen through noise or crowds. It happens through alignment. The Spirit begins to connect those who carry similar fire, who have endured their own refining, shaking, and sealing. They come from different paths, yet their stories share the same fragrance of surrender. These are not random connections, they are divine intersections. When light recognizes light, distance and difference no longer matter. Heaven networks the hearts of the chosen. At first, you may be surprised by how quickly the right people appear. Conversations fall into place with ease. There is understanding without explanation, unity without effort. You realize you no longer have to chase belonging, it comes to you naturally, drawn by the frequency of your anointing. The isolation that once shaped you begins to melt into communion. You find brothers, sisters, kindred spirits who see the same invisible hand guiding their journey. Every great movement of God begins this way, with scattered lights suddenly finding one another. It happened in the upper room when the apostles gathered and flames of fire rested on each head. It happens again now, in unseen upper rooms across the earth, in living rooms, in quiet hearts that dare to believe they were made for more. The gathering of light is not an event, it is an awakening of unity. As written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." That truth has never been more alive than in this moment. You are part of that city. Each chosen one is a window, and together you form a cathedral of brilliance that no darkness can extinguish. When one flicker joins another, the glow becomes unstoppable. What one voice could not shift alone, a chorus can move with ease. This is the divine mathematics of light multiplication through connection. The gathering of light also brings balance. Each person carries a facet of revelation the others need. You are not meant to shine alone. Isolation was only training, not destination. Light is most powerful when shared, when it reflects, when it amplifies. The lonely flame can flicker in the wind, but the gathered fire becomes an unbreakable blaze. Together you form a constellation of purpose across the world, stars in the vast sky of divine intention. You will recognize these companions not by perfection, but by presence. They carry peace even in storms. Their words sound familiar, like something you once heard in prayer. When they speak, your spirit nods before your mind understands. They are reminders that you are not crazy for believing in invisible things. You are part of a hidden remnant, chosen and appointed for this exact hour of history. In their company, you will heal faster. Their encouragement will water the seeds of faith in you, and your testimony will strengthen them in return. Together you will create spaces of light sanctuaries for weary souls, beacons for those still wandering in the fog. This gathering is not about power in numbers, but about purity and unity. It is not about agreement in every opinion, but alignment in one purpose to carry heaven's light into every corner of darkness. When you look around and realize how perfectly these connections fit, you will know it was never networking. It was destiny. Heaven wove you into this tapestry, and every thread matters. The gathering of light is not temporary, it is eternal. Once light has touched light, it cannot forget the glow. So walk with open eyes and an open heart. Pay attention to the souls who appear suddenly yet feel anciently familiar. They are the others, the ones who, like you, were chosen for this hour. You are no longer a solitary flame. You are part of a divine constellation blazing across the horizon of time. There comes a sacred stillness before every coronation. The air thickens, not with noise, but with expectancy, the kind of quiet that falls when heaven leans in to witness a moment written before time began. You have walked through the unveiling, the shaking, the refining, the gathering, and now the crown is no longer waiting in the distance. It is being placed upon your life. This is the coronation moment. It does not arrive with trumpets or gold. It arrives through recognition. You begin to sense the authority resting upon you. Not human authority that demands obedience, but divine authority that breathes peace wherever it walks. Heaven crowns not the loud, but the faithful. You are crowned not for perfection, but for perseverance. The hands that trembled through your trials are now lifted in quiet triumph. A coronation is not simply the receiving of a crown. It is the public acknowledgement of what heaven already decided in secret. Long before anyone saw your worth, heaven did. The storms did not cancel your calling, they confirmed it. The fire did not burn your purpose, it purified it. And now, the crown fits perfectly because it was molded by the pressure you endured. As written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day. This is that day, not the end of your journey, but the unveiling of your true identity. The crown you carry is invisible to the world, but undeniable in the spirit. It is not made of gold and gems. It is woven from obedience, forged in endurance, and polished by tears. It glows with the radiance of a heart that refused to quit. A crowned soul moves differently. You walk softly, not because you are unsure, but because you carry weight that others cannot see. You speak with grace, knowing your words now carry spiritual gravity. You no longer chase crowns made by men because heaven's own has already been placed upon you. The crown does not make you higher than others. It reminds you to lift others higher with you. Your life becomes a living cathedral, every act of kindness a stained glass window, every word of encouragement a beam of light through holy space. You are no longer simply surviving. You are reigning not as ruler over people, but as steward of purpose. Where you once felt unseen, you now see differently. Where you once pleaded for guidance, you now walk in quiet knowing. The coronation moment is also a calling. Heaven does not crown you for comfort, but for commission. This crown is both gift and responsibility. It whispers, you are ready to serve. And as you wear it, heaven expects you to carry its light into dark corners of the earth. There are lives waiting for the hope you hold. There are hearts watching, wondering if faith is still worth it, and your story is the answer. Beloved, if this word touches the deep places of your soul, let it move through you. When you like, you are saying, I see what heaven is doing. When you share, you help another weary soul remember that crowns are still real, that God still rewards endurance. When you subscribe, you step into ongoing communion, a fellowship of crowned souls walking this path together. And if your heart feels stirred, if you sense the divine weight of this message, consider becoming a part of its continuation. A donation, no matter how simple, becomes like incense, rising fuel that keeps the flame of these messages burning, reaching farther than your voice could travel alone. You are not just giving, you are crowning others with hope. The same way heaven used someone to pour into you. Your generosity becomes the oil that keeps this light alive. Finally, leave a word below, something that reflects your awakening, your gratitude, your readiness. Every comment becomes a stone in the altar we are building together, a monument of testimony for those who will come after and read. They believed. They were crowned. This moment is not about the rise of one, it is about the awakening of many. Your crown is not decoration, it is declaration. Heaven looks upon you and whispers, well done. Now, lift your head, chosen one. Walk with grace. You wear the unseen crown of a soul that endured the fire and emerged shining. The coronation moment is not coming, it is here. The dawn after the coronation feels strange. The world looks familiar, yet it does not greet you the same way. It's as if creation itself now recognizes your presence. The air carries more weight when you breathe. The light bends differently around you. The days that follow the three sacred ones, January 2nd and 3rd and 4, are not a return to normalcy. There is no return, there is only transformation. What has happened within you cannot be undone. The unveiling, the shaking, the refining, the gathering, and the crowning have rewritten your very essence. You are not the same being who stood trembling in uncertainty days ago. Heaven has deposited into your spirit something eternal, something that cannot be erased by the opinions of men or the turbulence of circumstance. You now carry visible proof of invisible change. This is the aftermath of divine encounter. It is quiet but powerful. It is subtle but unshakable. When you walk through rooms, the spiritual atmosphere shifts even if no one can explain why. You are carrying the residue of divine presence, the fragrance of heaven that lingers after God has moved. Those who once overlooked you will sense that something has altered, though they may not have the language for it. You don't need to explain. Transformation testifies for itself. You begin to understand that miracles were never meant to be moments, they were meant to be momentum. The signs and wonders you experienced in those 3 days were only the opening of a door. What follows now is the life that flows from it. It is not a peak, it is the foundation of a new way of living. The supernatural no longer feels foreign. It has become the natural rhythm of your days. As written in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 2. After 2 days he will revive us. On the 3rd day he will raise us up, that we may live in his sight. This is the essence of your transformation. You have lived through the reviving, and now you walk in the rising. You are no longer waiting for resurrection, you are living in it. The verse that once sounded like prophecy has become your personal reality. Heaven has lifted you from what buried you, not just to survive, but to live before his face. Every thought, every decision now passes through a sacred filter. Does this align with heaven? You no longer chase comfort, you chase purpose. You do not wait for divine timing to surprise you, you cooperate with it daily. The alignment is no longer external, it is internal. You are walking as one who knows that obedience is the shortest path between promise and fulfillment. There is also peace, a peace that does not fluctuate with conditions. It lives beneath the surface like a steady river, unbothered by the winds above. You've tasted storms and silence, but now you carry stillness. You know that the same God who moved mountains can guide footsteps. You no longer need to demand signs, for you've become one. In this phase, heaven begins to reveal the fruit of everything you endured. The prayers that once seemed unanswered now return as overflowing harvests. People are drawn to you, not because of charisma, but because of clarity. They see in you what they've forgotten in themselves, evidence that transformation is real. You are no longer speaking from theory. You are speaking from fire-tested truth. You will notice, too, that not everyone can walk this path with you. Some will misunderstand your stillness as distance. Others will mistake your peace for pride. But remember, the light within you will always expose what others are not ready to confront within themselves. You are not responsible for their discomfort. You are responsible only for your obedience. This is life after the encounter, no longer waiting for signs, because you have become one. No longer searching for God, because he now flows through you. You are not ending a season, you are beginning eternity's movement in motion. The air feels impossibly still, as though all of heaven is holding its breath. You stand at the threshold of something eternal, the point where transformation becomes purpose, where everything you have lived through now converges into divine assignment. It is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of your eternal mission. You are no longer being prepared, you are being activated. Every moment that once felt like waiting was actually training for this very hour. Your spirit feels larger inside you now, as though eternity itself has made room in your chest. The trials, the tears, the lessons, they are no longer memories. They have become tools. You carry wisdom like a sword, compassion like a shield, and faith like a flame. Heaven has not simply anointed you, it has commissioned you. You are being released into your eternal assignment, the purpose that existed before time began and will echo long after this age fades. You now understand what it means to live as heaven's envoy on earth. You walk among ordinary things, but nothing about you is ordinary anymore. Every step, every word, every glance has weight. You move not for attention, but for alignment. The same spirit that hovered over the waters in Genesis now moves through your breath. You are not trying to reach heaven, you are carrying it. This is what the prophets meant when they spoke of being sent. They knew that to be chosen is not merely to be blessed, it is to be burdened with love, a love so fierce it refuses to stand still while darkness devours the world. You carry that love now, burning in your bones like fire that cannot be contained. Your presence becomes a portal of peace, your silence a sermon of grace, as written in the letter to the Romans chapter 11 verse 29. For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. That truth is the seal upon your destiny. It means no failure can disqualify you. No mistake can erase you, no delay can deny you. What God has planted within you will outlive fear, outlast doubt, and overcome every obstacle. Your calling is not fragile, it is eternal. You did not earn it, you were entrusted with it, and heaven will not revoke what heaven began. You will begin to notice subtle signs of this activation. Your prayers will carry new authority. Words spoken in compassion will shift heavy atmospheres. People will be drawn to you, not by your name, but by the presence of God resting on your spirit. You will find yourself in places you never planned to be, yet each one will fit perfectly into the divine pattern. The path will unfold step by step, guided not by sight but by the quiet nudge of the Spirit. This assignment does not require striving, it requires surrender. You are not called to manufacture miracles, you are called to manifest obedience. The power you carry flows naturally when you remain aligned. You don't have to force open doors anymore. Doors now open when you arrive because the King walks with you. The atmosphere itself recognizes divine authority when it enters the room. But remember, this great power is married to great humility. You are not sent to dominate but to serve, not to impress but to impact. The crown you wear is not a trophy, it is a responsibility. You are to use it to lift others, to speak life where death has taken root, to shine light into corners where hope has grown dim. Your eternal assignment is not about fame or following. It is about faithfulness. There will be moments when you feel small again, when doubt whispers that maybe you imagined all of this. But listen carefully, faith will answer louder. The same God who began this work within you has promised to finish it. The assignment will unfold across seasons, across years, across lives, reaching farther than you will ever see. You may never witness its full fruit on earth, but heaven already sees the harvest. The eternal assignment is not a task, it is a transformation of being. You are no longer simply living for God, you are living from God. His heart beats through yours. His compassion flows through your hands. His wisdom speaks through your silence. You are a living extension of divine will, heaven walking in human form. And when the time comes to rest from this work, your legacy will remain a trail of light carved through the darkness, a testimony that obedience outlasts mortality. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to burn bright, to carry eternity in your voice and grace in your steps. The eternal assignment has begun. Walk forward, chosen one. The world will never be the same because you were here. Beloved chosen one, you've reached the end of the journey but not the end of the story. What began as a whisper of calling has become a roar of destiny within you. You have walked through revelation, fire, and glory. You have seen what it means to be refined, sealed, awakened, and sent. And now, as these words settle into your spirit, heaven smiles. You are ready. This message was never meant to entertain, it was meant to awaken. Every sentence, every silence, every pause was a seed planted into your heart, meant to grow long after this moment fades. You are no longer simply reading a prophecy. You are living one. The fingerprints of heaven are now upon your timeline, and your steps are guided by divine orchestration. Before you step back into the rhythm of your world, take a deep breath. Feel the stillness. You are not who you were when you began. You carry the sound of heaven in your pulse. You are the living testimony that obedience transforms everything it touches. If these words have stirred your soul, let gratitude rise like incense. Like this message to say, I receive what heaven has spoken. Share it so another weary heart might find their confirmation, their own awakening written between these lines. Comment below, not out of habit, but as your written Amen, your declaration that what God began in you will not be undone. And if this space has become a refuge for you, subscribe and stay close. This is not the last word heaven will speak. It is only the latest. Together, we carry light into the shadows. One word, one act, one flame at a time. You are chosen. You are crowned. You are called to shine.